r/AskReddit, what's an obvious sign someone's American? According to the CIA, when training to be a spy you have to unlearn how to lean. Americans tend to lean on things when standing still. Walked into a bar, in Australia. Ordered a beer and then the bartender noticed I'm American. I asked, was it the accent or my choice of Budweiser beer? He said, because you're the fattest fuck I have ever seen in my life, mate. When I lived in Europe, people said only Americans eat while walking. I'd be eating a bagel or something on the way to work or class and multiple people asked if I was American, lol. British man once told me he knew I was American because I was wearing a baseball cap backwards. Tactical sunglasses. Y'all. As an American, I was expecting to get roasted in these comments. But after reading them I can only laugh and agree. I don't know how true it is, but when I was in a hostel in Japan we met a guy from France, I think. But anywho, at some point he mentioned he could tell we were from USA. He said it was because we talked loudly. Like our normal speaking volume was louder. And now I can't help but notice that sometimes when I speak to someone from a foreign country, I do feel like I talk louder than them. When they say Europe, and it could mean anything from Venice to Doncaster. From what I've been told by European friends and travelers, our complete and utter lack of an indoor voice. The gentle grins you give to strangers if you make eye contact with them as you pass by, at least in the Midwest, was not well received in Germany. Retail worker here, not living in the US. I can generally spot an American because they greet me with "Hey, how are you?" And since I usually have the standard tired from life retail worker expression, at first I thought they were mocking me, so I didn't know how to react. Took me a while to realize they weren't really expecting an answer, LMAO. Mind you, might just be my personal experience, but it's happened too many times for it to be a coincidence. Hey, how are ya? I worked as a cashier in a touristic place in Paris. I always recognized Americans because they were kind of friendly to me and they always left tips. When they come at you with their Italian heritage, the accent usually gives it away. They want ice in their water. In Salzburg I went to grab something from the drugstore. As I was checking out I said hello to the cashier, thinking there was very little difference between how I said it and how Austrians say it. She immediately started speaking to me in English and I asked her how she knew I spoke English. She deadpan stared me in the eye and goes, "Hello." I just about died laughing since I'm a very stereotypical friendly American that says hello exactly like that. One of my favorite memories from that trip. When they claim to be 1/8 German, 1/8 Irish, 1/16 Scottish, 1/16 Spanish, 3/8 French and 1/4 Canadian. To be fair, I've said the US or America to people in foreign countries asking where I'm from and they always say yeah obviously, but where in the US? They measure things in inches and yards and talk about weather in Fahrenheit. An Italian told me that Americans walk confidently in the wrong direction. In my homestay in London, I was told that I was so American for enjoying a piece of cake for breakfast, not frosted cake, but like a nuts and dried fruit spiced coffee cake kind of thing. Apparently that's exclusively for like a 4 p.m. snack, and breakfast is more of a savory meal. An inordinate amount of small talk, unprompted. They smile at strangers. How much personal space they give themselves. Americans like at least an arm length. My wife is Brazilian with Italian heritage. She loves Americans and thinks we are unique. However, we have had the discussion about how we showcase indifference too much on what should have passion, and also how we focus on achievement over simply enjoying the passage of time. That to us time is focused on living to work, not working to live. I've always observed my US friends like to point at stuff while walking and say what it is. We were out walking around Amsterdam recently and they were like, hey look, it's a smoke shop. Oh look, a sex shop. Oh hey, it's a prostitute. Look at the canal. Wow, it's another prostitute. Another canal, etc., etc. It was like watching Netflix with audio descriptions turned on, smirking face. A smile on their face for no particular reason. Being friendly and encouraging even to strangers. One American I've met was a bit stereotypical in some regards. He was on a biking tour from Sweden to Palestine, had an unusual beard, huge white teeth, was extremely friendly and a bit loud, and he literally carried a bucket of peanut butter with him because he said that was the most efficient way to carry energy for his travel. I was an intern at a software company that just got bought by a huge American company, Warner I think, and one time some executives were visiting, walked through our office complimenting all the developers loudly and then disappeared again. My general impression of Americans I've met in person is that it's difficult to see what you guys really think and feel, because you seem to hide it behind a layer of aggressive cheerfulness. So when I see someone radiating that, I expect them to be from the US. Athleisure clothing. How's your day going? Or how are you doing? In completely random circumstances. Extremely white bleached teeth. Having a private conversation that everyone within 20 m can hear. They leave a tip. Eye contact. Maybe a smile and a how's it going? I think they are generally friendly people, easy to talk to, accessible and welcoming. Would love to visit America. There is something quite old-fashioned about the type I am speaking about. Hospitable, warm, helpful. When I lived in Spain, the barista at Starbucks immediately knew I was American because how polite I was. I asked him how he knew I was American and he told me, in Spain, we don't usually respond with good, and you. Americans are so polite whereas Spaniards will just say give me my coffee. So, I stopped responding nicely and baristas wouldn't speak to me in English anymore. Culture clash. Edit. Since my comment is making some people angry, I just want to clarify and say that my story only really applies to a niche people in Spain. This does not represent the whole country. Just a few rude bad apples. For the most part, people in the country are nice and people in the city too. The barista was simply remarking on Americans and outpensioned to be overly polite. Customer service have to deal with a lot of rude and unkind people, same in America. Baseball cap. Waiter. Dunno in all context, but Americans in Europe stand out with their ceaseless optimism and enthusiasm. When they got an American passport. While visiting Turkey I was told that I looked American because I was sitting with one leg across the other, and the bottom of my shoe was exposed. Apparently it's rude, I don't know. They speak at a higher volume. Very amenable to socializing with strangers in settings like bars. Assertive, fair, curious, will get your back without knowing you too well. I've had positive experiences. Using mm/dd/yyyy. As an American who has lived overseas, I could immediately pick out Americans in a crowd by how they pronounce the letter R. It's such a hard sound it sticks out like a sore thumb. You ask where they are from and they start giving you percentages. Aluminum. Claiming that they don't have an accent, when literally everybody has an accent. I rather enjoy wearing my baseball hat and eating and drinking on the go. LOL. On Reddit, Americans always talk about specifically American things as if they were common elsewhere. Not caring what I wear or look like when I go out, I heard recently that Europeans don't go out of the house in their pajamas. Not sure if that's true or not, but it seems like it would be an American thing to not care if you look like shit face with tears of joy. So what I'm learning is my uncommunicative, resting bitch face, autistic ass would be unnoticed in Europe. As a sweet observing American tourists, they are very loud. Edit, but yeah, that could be because loud outweighs quiet more, so those who aren't loud doesn't get noticed as much. We also all have cultural differences, so I just find it amusing. I heard we smile everywhere we go, like it's weird to be happy almost. The accent. 3 fingers vs 2 fingers 1 thumb. I'm wearing a snowboarding jacket while everyone else has fancy fashionable winter jackets. Maybe it shows I'm from California more than being from US. If they introduce themselves with the state that they're from instead of just saying USA. That's what my European friends always say, haha. Crew socks. If someone asks how far away something is, an American will tell how long it takes to get there as opposed to a physical distance. They pronounce Z like Z, and not Z. Volume. In both senses. Definitely the wit. I'm Asian, and I've talked to a lot of Americans, and one thing I've noticed about them is their sense of humor. I also watch a lot of American movies and have seen many humorous videos and memes from them, which is one of my favorite things ever, LOL. They're hilarious. Having the expectation public toilets are free. Eating portion sizes that in other countries would feed 3. Every single American expat I met while working abroad was the nicest person and great at conversation. Visiting Europe. Having a massive amount of student loan debt. When they speak American English fluently. You'll always hear an American before you see them. A lot of Americans I met in the UK have been some of the most politest people ever. From all different states. Yes dear, yes ma'am. I know somebody's gonna joke that's because they're disarmed while over here, but no, they've been so polite I at times wonder why things can't just sort themselves out over there. Also sentimental. When eating, we switch the knife to our right hand for cutting. I went on a trip to Europe once to meet an old online friend who pointed this out to me, and sure enough no one else in the restaurant did this. Now it's obvious, but before that I'd never have given it a second thought. Wearing shorts and a hoodie when it's less than 32 degrees Fahrenheit outside. How loud they are. I'm an American that has traveled a lot and lived in other countries. Most of my experiences come from being in African countries. After being away for a while, American tourists are easy to spot. It's not usually one characteristic, but the right combo of several. The obvious ones are American sports jerseys. American women tourists were easy to spot in some African countries because they wore very short shorts, where showing a thigh is often something that's less appropriate for locals. For men, wearing shorts, because local men didn't wear shorts unless they're playing sports. I met several British, and other Europeans, and Australian tourists, and they seemed to be wearing jeans or khaki pants, even when it was hot. Maybe it was a custom left in those countries from British colonialism? Or maybe they're better at understanding customs before traveling to other countries. Americans tend to be loud, but so do many Europeans, but obviously I can easily pick up on an American accent. I will say that Americans tended to be kinder to locals, while British, and some other Europeans, weren't outright rude, but seemed to be more comfortable with recognizing classes of people. Example, Americans would joke and small talk with taxi drivers, people carrying bags, employees at restaurants, etc. This isn't to say all Americans are kind and all British are rude, because obviously Americans can be assholes and Europeans can be sweethearts, but it's just what I observed. And the default stereotype, Americans can be fatter. British men who were overweight seemed like they carried it in their gut, but Americans, from what I saw, just carried extra weight all over. After being away from America for 2 years, when I came back, seeing the amount of overweight people was more eye-opening. In Europe, being afraid to go to the ER or doctors, anticipating a massive bill, even after you try to convince them that it's basically free. They are not whining and bitching about Americans. They're wondering why everyone is speaking German in Germany. I wish I was making that up. It's called soccer. They don't know 24-hour clock or meters/meters. Or for the first point, they call it military time. This was a few years ago, but my dad always said, if they wear white tennis shoes and laugh in public, they are from the US. Everyone we ever stopped to ask ended up being American. We could spot them across the plaza. Ask, so what do you do? Right after meeting someone. Not a faux pas or anything, just something that seems to be more important to Americans, Canadians as well. Carrying a refillable water bottle around, especially if they're college-aged. Thanks for watching. Leave a like if you have enjoyed this video and subscribe to never miss an upload.